Hi everyone. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and it's an awesome time to be able to celebrate and learn more about AAPI people and history. One of the reasons why this month is so important is because of the lack of representation when you look in the news, you look in the media, you look in the education system. And so in an effort to work against that erasure of Asian American and Pacific Islander stories, I sent a message out to a whole bunch of AAPI friends asking them to share some things about their experiences and their backgrounds. So I was very excited about the response, and I hope that you will enjoy this as well, to be able to learn, to grow, and to push forth celebration of the accomplishments and stories of AAPI people all year long, not just in the month of May.
So I've had time to think about what Asian Pacific American History Month means to me. Three things have come up as general themes for the month. First, to remember. Second, to celebrate. And the third, a call to action. But first, to remember. Remember that we all have an origin story. There are countless people, generations of people, who came before us and paved the way for the world we live in today. From Filipinos who fought in the Civil War, to Chinese who laid the tracks of the Transcontinental Railroad, to Japanese Americans who incarcerated and fought in World War II. Our history spans hundreds and hundreds of years and is the story of perseverance, strength, and pursuit of the American dream, and these stories and people should not be forgotten. But what better way to remember than to celebrate? There's so much richness and diversity of Asian Pacific Americans in this country. There's so much to celebrate. Celebration is also part of our DNA. It's really ingrained in us. From Lunar New Year, to Diwali, to the Obon Festival, and many others. The month of May is time to celebrate the great diversity and accomplishments that Asian Pacific Americans have made to this country. And the last is a call to action. There's more work left to be done. If we use the analogy of diversity as being invited to the dance, inclusion being asked to dance, and belonging dancing like no one's watching, I'd say that most APAs have been invited to the dance, have been asked to dance, but don't yet feel comfortable enough to dance like no one's watching. So there's more work left to be done. For the duration of Asian Pacific American History Month, I'd encourage everyone to really think about these three things and find one thing, big or small, to celebrate, remember, and to take action.
Hi, my name is Stacy Huang, and I am Chinese American. One of the things that I enjoy about my ethnicity is that Chinese people really love their food. So I love the fact that we have dim sum, a lot of noodles, and different types of cuisine too. There's Szechuan, which is more of a spicy type of cuisine with a lot of peppers. There's also the Hong Kong styled, where it's like pastries or egg tarts and more baked goods and baked stuff. It brings the family together. It allows everyone to fill their stomachs. Usually when people ask each other how they're doing, they say it in the form of, "Have you eaten yet?" And my family just comes together around food, and we just talk and gather and just enjoy each other's company. So that's what I enjoy about being Chinese American.
Hi, my name is Nathan. I'm Chamorro, Filipino, and Japanese. Chamorro, which is the ethnicity for people from Guam. I would say that my favorite thing about my cultural / ethnic heritage is that if we're friends, we're family. So that means I'm gonna ride for you. I'm gonna hope that you gonna ride for me. Feel free to call my parents auntie and uncle if you like, and you can come over whenever you want just to hang out, but just make sure you take your shoes off before you enter the house.
Hi, my name is Renice, and I identify primarily as half East Indian, half white. I am a mixed race brown woman, and I have European descent on one side along with Native American ancestry, and on the other side Punjab Indian, also with European ancestry and with African ancestry as well, from Nigeria, Mali, Cameroon. And so I am more recently realizing I'm extremely racially ambiguous, and that's been interesting in my racial identity journey. I would say my most favorite thing about my heritage and ethnicity is that it is so mixed and so on the Indian side beautiful and vibrant and tasty and delicious with the food, and beautiful even though I don't know the Punjabi language. I know a few words, but it's fascinating because I know that that's all part of my heritage and my roots.
Hello, my name is Christian. I am Korean American. I'm a second generation. My parents immigrated from South Korea. I was born in the United States. What I love about being Korean American is the culture, the food, and everything that comes with it, the community. Me growing up in a church community, there are some things difficult about that, but then just to be able to be in a context that was different from my day-to-day life at school, which is very American. And for me, being Korean American, I love learning, the language and the music. Korea, as a small country, became such an economic powerhouse in a short period of time, and now through soft power, its culture has been spreading with K-pop and K-dramas, K-movies, Parasite winning the Best Picture, BTS just doing just amazing things with their music and all those kinds of things. So just being able to embrace all those things.
The thing that stood out to me when I was reflecting on that was this spirit of resiliency and a ferocious energy to not only succeed and achieve many different accomplishments, but to find liberation, not only for ourselves, but for our families and for our communities. That is the spirit of Filipinas and Filipinos all over the world. And the thing that I really struggle with is, in this society, is this idea of the model minority, which oftentimes gets used to describe Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, as this minority that is to be kind of aspired to. And there's a lot of problematic things about that concept. And I won't get into all of them, but one of the problems with that concept is this idea that is implied in the phrase model minority, that things just come easy to us, and that there's just kind of a relative ease in navigating this society. And I think what is troublesome about that is that it leaves out the reality that Asian American communities are hardworking communities that have had to overcome so many obstacles and so many barriers set before them. That the immigrant story isn't this smooth sailing story where people just move across oceans and reestablish communities and everything's just smooth sailing and people get what they want and what they need. The truth is that the immigrant story is a story of hardship, and it's a story of obstacles, and a story where there isn't a lot of reception. And so when I think about Filipino Americans and immigration and their movements all around the world, but particularly here in the United States, those are the stories that I remember, stories of courage and bravery and resiliency, and just such a clear focus on what is important in terms of their liberation.
My name is Susan Okamoto Lane, and I am a third-generation Japanese American. The generations are a really big deal in Japanese American history and culture because of the U.S. immigration needs and laws of what was happening. So in the late 1800s to 1907, there was a need for cheap labor. So the Japanese men came to work on railroads and in lumber mills and in agriculture. But the U.S. then closed the immigration, and the only way that they could get married was to go to Japan and marry and bring their wife back. So those were the Issei's, non-native English speakers, first-generation immigrants. Japan was their home. The second generation were the Nisei, and they were born in the U.S., they were going to school in the U.S., and then the big thing that happened within their lifetime was World War II. After Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, 120,000 Japanese Americans on the West Coast were seen as the enemy and put into incarceration camps, prison camps. So after World War II, when the Nisei married and had my generation, Sansei, we were to be all American. So my given name was Susan Jean Okamoto. So born in the U.S., schooling in the U.S., our country was the U.S., and a lot of us didn't speak Japanese. So I, like many of my Sansei peers, married a Caucasian guy. So my married name was Susan Jean Lane. Well, it just felt like it stripped out anything to do with my identity. So for my 50th birthday, I gave myself a legal name change and changed my name from Susan Jean Lane to Susan Okamoto Lane.
Hi everybody, my name is Laura and I'm just putting out this video in response to my buddy Tony's request for personal stories about Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. I was born and raised in Seattle, and I would say that the most important piece of family history that I carry with me is the proud Americans in the 442nd, aka the Purple Heart Battalion from World War II, who fought on both sides of my family. They fought for the freedoms that their own communities didn't have because of their ancestry.
And I'd say the main thing that that fascinates me in my racial identity journey and in my racial justice journey and awareness that continues to be a fluid process is the loss of language and the sense of grief around that, and the honor that I feel that I have towards my ancestors, towards my dad and his siblings and parents' generation in regard to immigrating to the United States and having to lose so much of themselves, so much of their culture and their language, that a lot of it wasn't passed on, and what that means to try and regain that now that we're in a space where we're not forced to assimilate through the education system, through the careers, through colleges, things like that. So what does it mean to kind of regain that and have that for our children and generations to come? And that's been a big part of my mission, kind of, and just my heart lately. So that's what I wanted to share. Thanks.
What I wish people would know about being Korean American, or especially with AAPI month, is I really want people to know that even though this is just 1 month, hopefully Korean American and Asian American history are part of American history. So it's not just compartmentalized. I know we have this month, but hopefully we can celebrate what it means to be Asian American and Korean American all year round. What I also would want people to know is that the Korean American experience, just like the Asian American experience, is unique and diverse. There are differences with class and experience. The assumption that we are the model minority and have lots of money and all these kinds of things. And coming from a working class context where my parents were working in blue collar jobs, doing things that were things that a lot of people didn't like doing, but did that. gave me a different kind of experience, mixing with other cultures, other races, seeing poverty even in my community, undocumented people who are many Korean Americans being undocumented, and that issue just kind of having a face of the Latinx community, but hopefully people know that even among the Asian American community, there are people who are undocumented and who are fighting to become a part of our society.
So the one thing that I would want people to know is, one, this beautiful spirit of resiliency and bravery and courage that is part of the Filipino tradition, and also just the tremendous burden that Filipinos have bore as a result, and how that has impacted their health. And I would love for us to keep talking about those things so that we could destigmatize mental health in our communities, continue to establish support and inclusivity and understanding, so that we can continue forward on this way of liberation together as a community.
And I'm so thankful to know fellow educators who are passionate about this subject. In particular, I'm thankful to Tom Ikeda of the Densho Foundation, who is continuing to educate countless of people across America about our history and making parallels to discrimination that marginalized minorities in America face today, from COVID-19 related xenophobia to against Asian Americans, to making parallels to the mass incarceration of Japanese Americans, to the discrimination against Muslims post 9/11 and the mass detention of migrant families at the border. Thanks for all that you do, Tom, Tony, and all of my allies fighting racism and discrimination today.
So I really want people to know how much I love who I am, just like I hope you love who you are. And in this month, we can celebrate people of Asian descent, Korean descent, who have made this country what it is. And even when America has failed us, like for Korean Americans, probably our identity was born in 1992 with the LA riots or the LA uprisings. We still strive to want to see a better society, not just for ourselves, but everyone around us. That Black Lives Matter, Me Too, all those things intersect with my community and my identity, that we're all connected. And so as we celebrate AAPI month, I hope we know that we are all striving to live in a more just and fair and equitable world.